Timberlands have jumped 27% in price over the last decade. The boots have not gotten 27% better. Timberland is not the worst offender. 5 major brands are robbing you blind while quietly cutting construction. 5 others actually earn their price. One costs just $173 per 1,000 hours on your feet. The difference comes down to 6 things most buyers never check. Every worker knows the frustration of spending $200 on a pair of boots only to watch the soles peel or the leather crack before the year is out. The sticker shock gets worse when prices jump, but the product itself barely changes. Timberland is the poster child here. Their flagship boot now costs about 27% more than it did 10 years ago. That is not a small bump. Yet when you put the new Timberland side by side with an older pair, the construction tells a different story. Less stitching, thinner leather, and a glued sole where there used to be a proper welt. One warehouse foreman put it bluntly. He said he is paying more for the same boot, but it does not last as long. So how do you cut through the marketing noise and figure out if a boot is worth your money? There are 6 things that matter if you want real value. Construction method, quality of materials, comfort over long shifts, durability under real-world abuse, repairability, and whether the price actually matches what you are getting. Goodyear welted or cemented, full-grain leather or a plastic blend. Does the boot pass basic safety standards, or is it just riding on the name? These are the questions that separate boots that last from boots that just look good on a shelf. Timberland's price surge is a warning sign. If the cost goes up but the build quality does not, you are paying for the logo, not the performance. Timberland is far from alone. Over the next few minutes, we will use these 6 criteria to sort out which brands are quietly cutting corners and which ones still deliver real value for the money. Dr. Martens and Frye both sell a story. Heritage, rebellion, a certain look that turns heads. But when it comes to real job site punishment, that story unravels fast. Style matters on the street, but not always on the clock. Ask any cobbler who sees a steady stream of battered boots. Dr. Martens and Frye rarely show up for repair. Not because they are indestructible, but because most pairs get tossed in the trash before they are even worth fixing. One cobbler put it bluntly, they are fashion, not workwear. People bring them in after a year or two, and by then the sole is separated or the leather is split. There is nothing to save. Fashion beats function for many buyers. Field reports and repair logs back this up. Most Dr. Martens and Frye boots last between 1 year and 3 years at best, and less if you are working in wet or abrasive conditions. That is a far cry from the 7 to 10 years you can get out of a well-made, Goodyear welted boot with regular care. The reason is simple. Both brands rely heavily on cemented construction and thinner leathers, prioritizing weight and style over ruggedness. The result is a boot that looks great out of the box, but starts to break down after a few months of hard use. Soles peel, stitches pop, and the upper stretches out, losing shape long before the tread wears smooth. Durability is the missing promise. Most owners do not even consider repairs. The cost to resole a cemented boot often matches or exceeds the price of buying a new pair. So instead of building a relationship with a local cobbler, buyers end up in a cycle of replacement. New boots every 18 to 24 months, landfill full of worn-out pairs, wallets a little lighter each time. When a boot is designed for image, not endurance, the value disappears long before the style does. A bargain boot can end up being the most expensive mistake in your closet. Take Skechers Work Series, one of the biggest sellers at big box stores and online. They look like a deal, but the numbers tell a different story. After just a year or two of use, most pairs are worth less than 15% of what you paid. That is not a typo. A recent scan of resale sites turned up dozens of Skechers work boots listed for $10 or less. down from an original price of $70 to $90. The reality is these boots are treated as disposable. The cemented sole construction means once the glue fails or the tread wears down, there is no fixing them. They hit the landfill and you are back at the store, wallet in hand. Ariat, once known for rugged Western boots, has quietly shifted a huge chunk of its work line from welted to cemented construction over the last few years. The price did not drop to match. Instead, buyers get boots that look the part but cannot handle heavy abuse. Cemented builds are faster and cheaper to make, but they sacrifice repairability and long-term durability. When the sole peels or the upper starts to crack, that is it. There is no second life, no cobbler fix, just another replacement cycle. Skechers and Ariat are not alone. Several brands, Brahma, Die Hard, and even some lines from Cat, have followed the same playbook: keep the price tag low, keep the build costs lower, and let the customer eat the replacement costs. The math is simple. If a $70 boot lasts a year and a $200 boot lasts 5 years, you are paying more per hour for the so-called bargain. The hidden markup is not always in the sticker price. It is in the cycle of buying, tossing, and buying again. That is how these brands rob you blind, one cheap pair at a time. Caterpillar boots land in the middle of the price spectrum, but the real story is what happens after you walk out of the store. Unlike most brands in this range, Cat backs its work boots with a service network that is hard to ignore. If a seam blows out or a sole starts to separate inside the warranty window, you don't have to fight through a maze of call centers. Retailers describe the process as straightforward: bring in the receipt, get an assessment, and walk out with a repair or a replacement. It is not just lip service either. Boots that qualify for warranty work are actually fixed or swapped, not left to gather dust behind the counter. That support system changes the math. When you factor in the ability to repair rather than replace, the cost of ownership drops. Used pairs of Caterpillar boots still fetch about 30% of their original price on resale sites, a number that leaves most bargain brands in the dust. One retailer put it this way: people come back for Cat because they know it is not just a throwaway purchase. You're not just buying a boot, you're buying a pathway to keep it going, and that is worth real money when every dollar counts. Durability makes all the difference when you are working in the elements. Duradero's waterproof boots faced a 3-hour, 5-kilometer wet test. No leaks, no damp socks, just dry feet at the finish line. One tradesperson who logged the entire walk said that he expected to feel a slow seep after an hour, but his feet stayed bone dry. That is not just lab marketing, it is a real-world win. Waterproof claims are easy to print on a box, but surviving a long, soaked walk is something else entirely. Hardware failures send plenty of boots to the trash before the outsole even wears out. On the teardown bench, Wolverine's triple-stitched hardware stood up to repeated flexing and pull tests. An inspection technician noted that the stitching holds even after 300 hours of simulated use. Eyelets do not deform, and there is no thread pull-through. That kind of mechanical integrity is what keeps a boot going shift after shift, not just for a few months, but for years. These are not the kind of details you see in flashy ads, but they are the reason some boots hold up long after others have split at the seams. When you are buying for real-world work, waterproofing and hardware strength are not extras. They are the difference between a boot that gets you through the week and one that gets you through the year. Inside the lab, the numbers cut through the marketing fog. On the puncture resistance rig, Danner boots set the high water mark. ASTM F2413 testing showed the steel probe could not breach the sole until it hit the maximum force allowed by the standard. The technician running the test called it the toughest sole I have measured all year. That is not a badge you can fake with branding. It is the kind of performance that means something when you are stepping on rebar or broken glass, not just walking the aisles of a big box store. But durability is only half the story. What does all that toughness cost you over time? That is where Red Wing steps in. Run the numbers on a typical pair, purchase price, maintenance, and what you get back if you sell them after a few years. The total comes out to $173 for every 1,000 hours of real work, less than what most people pay cycling through 2 or 3 bargain pairs that fall apart before the warranty even expires. A veteran tradesman summed it up, "I have worn out a lot of boots in 30 years. Red Wings are the only ones that pay you back in the long run." For anyone tired of watching money disappear with every replacement, that is the math that matters. Every dollar spent on work boots buys more than a brand name. Right now, Timberlands and others still profit from hype, not just quality. As prices climb, smart buyers force the industry to deliver real value or lose trust. The next step is yours. Share your thoughts below.